Everybody, welcome back with the Platypus is the name, and we're here to answer one question. Is it worth it to pull 4 Joker's Phoenix Dagger instead of using the machete? So this is going to be an answer that is going to base basically on your own personal situation. If you have $10,000 burning a hole in your pocket, then this weapon is clearly better. The Phoenix Dagger is clearly better. But how much better is it actually? So we are going to go do the same fight 2 times in a row with 0 changes besides switching the dagger. And we're going to take the damage number of one, compare it to the damage number of the other, and we're going to see what the percent increase in damage is as a final result. Now, I want to reiterate that this is not about how much damage are you doing, right? If you see 8,000 damage or 10,000 damage or 4,000 damage, those numbers aren't really important because your level of your character, the amount your weapons are built, the enemies you're fighting, that stuff all changes, and that will affect damage numbers greatly. We're just comparing, number X to number Y, and we're gonna see the percent difference between them. And then I'll kind of give you my opinion after we see how much of a damage increase it seems to be at the end. Also, it's worth noting, we are using Awaken 0 on both of these. So if you have, or Forge 0, if you have a Forge 6 or a Forge 3, you can expect to have a much better outcome than what we're gonna get. And so maybe something like a Forge 6, I just don't have that many. Maybe something like a Forge 6 machete will actually be closer to a Phoenix Dagger at Awaken level 0. So it's something that is worth considering, that we're kind of comparing apples to apples here. So we're gonna start with the machete. And the fight we are choosing to do here is actually going to be the Ill Wind here. Now, we're only doing this because it's just a very consistent fight. I know that I could beat this pretty easily, and I know kind of the enemies are the same. We just wanted a fight that is gonna be simple, all right? So we are gonna go ahead and go in here. Now, we are not gonna be using Yao Ling here. We are gonna be using, very important here, because of the way the character works, we need to have an ailment on them. And I actually don't know if her spider soup thing, if we take a look here, it's not clear to me that her spider soup thing is technically an ailment versus a debuff. I don't know exactly the definitions of these things, but what I do know is that shock is a elemental ailment. And if you take a look at the machete here, it's very specific. When attacking a foe with an ailment, increase attack by 20%. So we need an ailment. I don't know if the other one actually counts, so we are gonna just use shock for the ailment here. So let's go ahead and jump in. We have to bring 4 characters. That's why the other guy's here. And I actually really like that guy. I'm gonna do a video on him pretty soon as well. But here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna use the center Jack here as our guy. We're gonna Wrathful Thunder him. So he has shock, right? We're gonna go on ×3, and then for our follow-up attack here, we will do the we will slow down to ×1 so we can see the attack. I'm only caring about the final attack of the chains here. So we're gonna go and do the plunder. We're gonna knock them all down. We're at 1 juice, and then we're gonna do our all-out attack here. And after the all-out attack, we are going to get an additional turn, and we go up to our full 5 stacks. This is one of the reasons why this fight I really wanted to use, because it was sometimes I would get 4 stacks or 2 stacks, 3 stacks, so we're at 5 stacks. So now we're on our extra turn with our 5 stacks. He has an ailment. He doesn't have any kind of like debuff on him. He has curse, right? But that's like whatever. So now when we use this attack, we want to slow down, first of all. The chains, and we're going to look at this guy's damage number, okay? Boom. 7,587. All right, so this guy right here, we are at 3,431. I don't want to count the crit. Or we saw it was 8,400 for the crit and 3,400 for the non-crit. All right, so we're going to do the same exact fight. Nothing's changing other than the weapon. Now, it is worth noting, just for it being a 5-star weapon, it is going to have higher attack, right? This one has 399 when it's equipped. When this is equipped, you have 499. In case you don't remember what this weapon does, it gives you 30% more attack besides 12%. And so this one also gives you 19% more attack. This one gives you 30% more damage and effectively another 23% more damage as well. And when you have 3 stacks, which is kind of his entire thing, right? So it is obviously stronger, but is it? We want to see how much stronger it actually is. So let's go ahead and jump into the fight. And we're going to do the exact same thing. And actually, I was thinking at it in between. Yes, we care about, we're going to target this guy with the thing, but because there's 5 enemies, we can also just kind of get an average, right? We can take a look at the highest number, the lowest number for each of them, and kind of get a better idea. So we are going to do the ailment on this guy here. Hopefully we get him on everybody, but sometimes you don't. All right, I didn't get any crits that last time, so it wasn't like a great comparison. So we have a shock on this guy and a shock on this guy. We are slowed down to ×1, I believe, so let's give this one more go and take a look, and we are dealing about, boom, 6584 there. I missed the side, but let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so let's take a look at our 2 damage numbers here. So it's hard to compare apples to apples with any specific one, right? Because this one's a crit and this one's a crit, but this one doesn't have a debuff on it, so maybe it's getting a little bit less damage there. And then like so it's hard to line up everything. So what I decided to do, instead of doing one number with one number, is I added all the numbers up. What is important is here is there's 2 crits here and there's 2 crits here. So there are, and I believe there were the same amount of debuffs at the time that I took those, of the shocked debuff. So I added these up. This came up to an average of 4,977.4 damage. And this one came out to an average of 7,598.6 damage. Now, according to ChatGPT, this is a 52.67 increase. 52.67%. So there's going to be a little bit of a margin of error in this for sure, depending on the weapon. But I would say it's safe to put that the weapon, Joker's weapon, is about a 50% damage increase. So for every 1,000 damage you do with Machete, you're doing about 1,500 with the fancy weapon. Now, again, it's not 100% perfect, right? I'm not a super mega nerd that can crunch all the numbers and put it on a giant Excel spreadsheet. I'm just kind of trying to do my best with the limited amount of stuff here. But what is important is that this is Awakening 0 on the Machete. So in reality, this is 52% at launch, given that this weapon is currently the most powerful it is if you have 1 copy of it versus 1 copy of this. But once this gets up to Awakening something, I mean, this might drop down to closer to 30%, right? So maybe a 30% increase, maybe a 25. I don't see it going much better than a 25 for Machete. So no matter what, this is going to be, even at Awakening 0 or at Forge 0, this weapon I think is always going to be better than Machete, but it's not always going to be 50% better, which is actually incredibly huge. So I'm going to be honest here. I think this weapon is mostly for, I mean, I don't want to say whales, but it's mostly for dolphin spenders at least. If you're free to play, you definitely don't really care about this weapon. If you pull Joker and you have the currency to pull on the weapon banner, maybe you can go for it. Worst case scenario is you progress your pity. And if you do get it, it's good. The weapon is insanely good now, especially at this level of content. But once you're able to max out a Machete, I really don't think that this weapon is going to be that much noticeable. I don't know if it's going to be the difference between you're making it or not. So it's very good right now, but I don't know. In 5 months, will this weapon be relevant at all? I'm a little skeptical about it. If it'll be relevant. Obviously, if you have it max like forged and stuff, yes. But overall, I can't really recommend going for this weapon, even though this does seem like a big number. It does seem like a pretty big increase because it is a big increase, but I'm telling you, just give it time. This is only if you're in a hurry to clear all the content and top everything right now. This is if like you actually plan on playing the game for a Joker for a long time, where it's gonna close the gap quite a bit. So yeah, is it worth it to buy the weapon? I mean, honestly, I don't really think so, but worth is subjective, and really, is it worth it to you? Is it worth it to you to spend the money it takes to get a potentially 50% damage increase on the most powerful character in the game? To some people, that'll be yes. To some people, it'll be no. In the long term, I think that a lot of its usefulness will fall off. But again, worth is subjective. To me, I found it was worth it. I got the weapon, right? But what do you think? I don't recommend people do it, but that's all. Anyway, guys, much love. Per platypus is per platypus. I'll see you on the flip-flops. Bye!